You have a lot of what I used to call sort of mood evidence. Is this defendant capable of committing this kind of crime? And so you have all of his daughters testifying that they believe that he acted inappropriately. Alexis today, my understanding is she even testified that she believed her father killed her mother. But where is the direct evidence, Jean? We don't have any of the medical examiners saying this is a homicide.
Right, because as you know, an element of murder is that beyond a reasonable doubt you can say that the defendant caused the death of Michele MacNeill. And the prosecutors have known from the beginning that this is going to be an uphill climb for them. And this is a circumstantial case. So the fact prosecutors say that he asked for the medications, he got the medications, and that Alexis testified that he admitted he overdosed her the night she came home from the hospital, but she didn't die that night, but then she did die 8 days later.
Well, Jean, I have to ask you, because you've been in the courtroom and I know how important it is to get the jury's reaction. How is the jury receiving this evidence? What was their reaction, at least to Alexis's testimony?
You know, they were really focused on Alexis. I mean, her direct examination was very strong, and she answers every question. She is not stumped by anything. She has an explanation, very focused. But do you know who I saw them riveted by? The medical examiner, because this was the chief medical examiner for the entire state of Utah. And I think they were in awe of him as he testified.
Very interesting. Well, talking about medical examiners, I do have a medical examiner here as a guest. Dr. Michele Dupree is with me. She's a medical examiner and a forensic pathologist. And Michele, thank you so much for joining me today. Dr. Dupree, I've got to ask you the question that I think is on everyone's minds. You've got 3 different medical examiners that reviewed the records in this case. Not one says this was a homicide. How can that happen?
Yes, that's it's really not that unusual. When you think about it, there's only been one actual autopsy. Everyone else is reviewing the records and the history. And you have to recognize that new information has now come to light. And when we look at something, we look at the totality of circumstances, and we make the best judgment at the time on the information that we have. So it's not unusual that things would change now.
But Dr. Dupree, you've got one medical examiner who died of breast cancer. She said that manner of death was natural, cause of death, heart problem, some sort of cardiovascular disease. But then you have Dr. Gray, who testified today, manner of death natural. Now the cause of death is undetermined and possibly heart disease and drugs toxicity. And then there's a third person who reviewed this, a doctor, Dr. Perper, who's going to testify that the manner of death was natural, but the cause of death was drowning. Those are 3 very, very different conclusions, are they not?
Yes, they are. And we have to remember that natural death is a natural disease type of process. Perhaps if someone has a heart problem and they're in water, they may die from the heart problem and not from drowning. They may also drown if they don't have a heart problem, so that's 2 different causes of death. If you have medication in your system, that may be a reason that you're not able to get out of the water at the time. So, again, there's so many factors. And I think that what we really have to remember here is that we have to look at the forensic, scientific, and medical evidence all in context and take that into consideration.